Well, it's Thursday afternoon, and welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast with me, Victoria Taft. I am your host. I am an adult in the room, and we're talking about issues that I care about, and I know that you care about them because a lot more people are tuning in. So great. Hey, good afternoon, LaDonna. Thank you so much for commenting, and please, you comment too. And a friend of mine told me the other day, Victoria, I'm just not seeing your content, and I'm thinking, like, how could you not be seeing our content? Alex puts out like 12 videos a week or something crazy. And so I said, do you have notifications enabled? Are you receiving any of my notifications? To which he said, well, I think no, you don't. So please enable the notifications. Okay, good. I see our first guest is up, and I've got lots to talk about today. There was a big roll up of bad guys from the ICE riots of Los Angeles. And it is, it's one of those FAFO moments. For those of you in the know, you'll know. But so there's lots going on. And we're going to talk to the Black Rebel, the real Black Rebel, who is a man who, back in 2020, in Portland, covering Antifa, was stabbed by Antifa. Let's go back to the bad news of that. Let's watch it.
Someone's stalking us.
Hey, buddy, why are you following us? Ow! Ow!
Did you just stab him? Bro, he just stabbed him, dude. Bro, he just stabbed him. That dude just stabbed him, bro. He just stabbed him, dude. He just stabbed him, dude. The guy right there. Get him! Get him! He stabbed him! Get him! Bro, he stabbed.
And 2020, that's when that happened. That is compliments of the Oregonian who put up that video. I'd seen it. We brought it to you last month during a program about all of the people who have been chased out, attacked, put in the hospital by Antifa. And this gentleman was one of them. And then I saw this just a few days ago.
Hey, I'm the one who got stabbed in 2020.
There he is.
You ain't got the balls to do it, though. That's a death threat. You ain't got the balls to do it. That's a death threat. You ain't got the balls to do it, so keep yapping your mouth like a bastard.
So everybody's having dialogue with the Portland Police dialogue officers. And so I wanted to talk to him, and he was kind enough to come on the program today. Hello, real Black Rebel, Andrew Duncombe. Welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast. Thank you so much for coming on today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Victoria, for having me.
Could you tell me what happened during that stabbing attempt and why you're back here?
So back in 2020, I went to Portland, Oregon to document the protest. Previous to my arrival, my information was doxed throughout the Rose City Antifa groups. Some situation happened that night. I was in Portland for less than 12 hours before I got stabbed, where we started to get followed. That man that you've seen in the video that I went to, he was following us around for a while. He had his hands in his pocket, completely face covered, and was just walking very eerily behind us. And so I passed off my camera to one of the people that I was with, and I said, here, we'll just go see what he's about, and I'll go figure out why he's following us. And that's when you see me come around there, and I put my hand on his shoulder and said, hey, buddy, why do you keep following us tonight? And that's when he pulled out a SOG sail blade and came around and stabbed me a couple inches from my spinal cord and my right side of my flank.
How long did it take you to recover?
Miracle. It was a miracle, basically, because it missed everything. And so, like, it hurt for about 3 weeks. I was in some serious pain from it, but I forced myself to get up out of that hospital bed and continue on. I was back on the streets recording pretty much within 3 days.
No.
Just taking it easy. And so, yeah.
Have you ever, has the person who stabbed you ever been caught and prosecuted?
Yes. So after that video shortly that you played earlier, the crowd started to surround that guy, and they kind of roughed him up, and they hand delivered him to the police. But within that same night, those same rioters that turned him in paid his $250,000 cash bond once they realized who he stabbed, and then they realized that they made the mistake, in their words, and bailed him out.
Okay, what does that mean to have made the mistake? What did you divine that to mean?
Because at that time they thought that he just stabbed a black guy. They didn't realize that, in their words, stabbed a fascist.
So the person, did you say bailed out, bonded out?
Bonded out by that bail fund that Kamala Harris promoted for the Portland Freedom Fund.
Good God. And now you're back. Aren't you scared?
You get used to it. I've been doing this since 2015. My real first taste with Antifa was back in 2017 in New Orleans, when they were removing the monuments down there, and I voiced my opinion against it and got my real first taste of Antifa. And based off of that, they put a $50,000 bounty on my head, trying to get me to leave the city. And so that was my first incident with them, really, and it's what really motivated me to go across the country and start covering these different Antifa attacks. I've seen them in Berkeley, I've seen them in San Francisco, whether Portland, Seattle, Atlanta. We traveled, like back then we traveled quite a bit covering these types of stories. And so between that, even after the stabbing, about a couple months later after the stabbing, I was hit in the head with a rock, where now I have permanent concussion or issues with concussion symptoms and headaches and things like that. And so, and countless of times that they've attacked my vehicle, slashed my tires, busted out my window, and they've tried to do a lot of things, including doxing my entire family, putting their personal information on the dark web to try to encourage people to target them as well.
Has anybody in your family been hurt by these people or lost a job?
Scared, not lost their job. They've caused me to lose quite a bit of jobs, making up false statements, saying that, just from making up inflammatory or false statements against me, saying that I'm a part of extremist groups and that I support white national or white supremacy. And it worked when I was working downtown Portland for a private armed security company that I was being contracted out for Fred Meyers.
Oh, I didn't realize that you worked in Portland. Oh, that's interesting. So
I did armed security in Portland for a few years as well.
Huh. So you sort of saw it you said New Orleans at the earliest. Let me play, if I may. Do you have time for me to play a little soundbite from a guy from Antifa? Okay, stand by here. I want to, thank you, because somebody's calling me ma'am. I appreciate it.
I'm from Oklahoma.
I know. You can tell those Southern guys. It's so cute. Let me just play this. Oh, dear. Let me find it. Oh, this is interesting. Naturally, I can't find it. That's okay. Let me just give you the short version of what this person who previously been in Antifa had admitted in a podcast in the last few days, that Antifa is a white boy jihad. I'd like you to react to that.
That's mostly what I see out there when I'm out there. Like, you hardly ever see people of color. Even throughout 2020, they're out there marching out there chanting Black Lives Matter, while out there assaulting any person of color who has a different opinion of them. And so it is mostly younger white males that join that type of that domestic organization, and they like to jump on and virtue signal that they're trying to help a cause for minorities, but really they're out there to wreak havoc on the American people, and they don't care about any agenda but their own, and that's to install and promote chaos within to destroy America. And they've been getting away with it, and especially in Portland, for quite a while, and the city has been complicit inside of their actions.
In what way do you think the city is complicit? I totally agree. I'd like to hear you say what you think's going on.
When you allow groups like Antifa, who they've been finally designated as domestic terrorist organization. They have been allowed to do their tactics of intimidation and attacking people without impunity, and there hasn't been justice served on their side. They get arrested, they're let go, and then their charges get dropped. Under the former DA, Mike Smith, he dropped a lot of those cases that went through in 2020, releasing those Antifa members. And anytime that somebody stands up against Antifa, the cops will go in and do something to those who stand up to them while giving them a complete free pass.
Right. I think they're doing that again. In fact, I would say it's even worse now, as you saw from that scrum that you were involved in around the Portland Police Bureau the other day that we shared. The cops were there giving Antifa the rationale for why they should clean up their encampment there out in front of the ICE building in Portland, because it would help the city win its case in the full Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, in which they were asking the Ninth Circuit to please stop President Trump from sending the National Guard. And it seems to me that, I mean, I understand bringing citizens up to scratch on what the deal is and what the information is, but I mean, they go out of their way to help Antifa. It's just astonishing to me.
Portland does not have an issue with getting law enforcement. They have an issue with city leadership that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing to protect the law-abiding citizens by allowing groups like Antifa to run rampant without justice. And so it's really a disservice to those who are in that area. They allowed that camp to go on for 140 days before cleaning it up just recently at the beginning of this week, to give the illusion that the National Guard is not needed. But it's come to a point to where this has been going on for years. And so when the city fails to protect its law-abiding citizens, sometimes maybe an outside entity does need to come in and restore that law and order, since those who are there supposed to be protecting the citizens are not doing their jobs.
Mm-hmm. The LaDonna writes and says, "You're a very interesting man." That's one of the comments here. Well, of course you are. There's a through line, I believe, from the consent decree with the Obama DOJ coming in that they established with Portland and I think 14 other police departments around the country in, I think it was 2011, 2012. And this was the Eric Holder, we're going to go and we're basically wokeify the PDs and make sure that, you know, people were not being hunted down. Black individuals are not being hunted down by the police, which of course was the talking point at the time. And they're still, Portland is still under that consent decree, not to the extent it was previously, but it's still there. And I think there's a through line between that consent decree and all of this woke crap and the indulgence of Antifa. What do you say?
They have weakened law enforcement across the country ever since the Obama administration with the original riots out of Ferguson and stuff like that. And so a lot of people say like, oh, they have their hands tied behind their back, so there's not much that they can do. But everybody has a choice at the end of the day. You can serve and protect the oath that you swore, or are you going to continue to allow the tyrannical government or the city leaders to allow the lawlessness that's going against exactly what you signed up to serve and protect?
Yeah, they're having trouble filling out the ranks. And then they've got these, what do you make of the dialogue officers out there helping out the people who are the rioters?
Well, they claim that they're there just for the dialogue and to keep things safe and not to make any arrests. But we've seen them threaten to arrest those who challenge Antifa's authority down there. Because let's just admit that they were running the streets before that encampment got taken down. And so it's I respect law enforcement across the country very well, but when I see bad police work, I still would like you still got to call it out. And so for Portland, they've been pretty useless with helping inside of this situation. Their new chief that they have been considered as weak, and it seems like Portland continues to vote inside of this same manner year after election after each election. and they haven't learned their lesson yet. And I don't know how much this city has to burn or how far down the toilet that Portland has to go before people start waking up and voting differently. But something needs to change before it's too late. And I think Trump doing what he's doing now is going to be the jump start on cleaning that city up.
I hope so. I mean, I hope that he can do something. They're going to the Ninth Circuit again to re-argue everything, and they vacated the last stop of the Oregon and the city of Portland from appealing. They wanted to vacate that ruling in which the previous judge had said, "Well, you can't do that. I'm sorry, President Trump, but you actually can't federalize and send the National Guard from Oregon to Oregon. How dare you?" And so that's still in effect now as a result of, it got tossed by two courts, but now they're back. And it would not surprise me in the least that if that decision were not, if the TRO would be put back into effect and just stop the president, attempt to stop the president. If that happens again, it will go to the Supreme Court. It's so absurd the lengths to which the left goes to stop what they know is actually a presidential ability, a job of the president. It is astonishing to me that more people don't just like, hey, clunk, the dude has the right to do that. And no non-Article 3 court is going to be able to tell him he can't. It's just amazing. Anyway.
In fact, the fake liberal news is trying to make it seem like, oh, it's not needed. It's just it's peaceful protesting out here. They're arresting peaceful protesters. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is that era that they've occupied, there used to be a school there where the people had to send their kids away to go to school somewhere else. The people that live inside of that area has been harassed for over 140 days. And not to mention the law enforcement officers who are out there doing their job and what Trump ran off of, promising these mass deportations, and they're just following their orders and constitutionally doing what they're supposed to be doing. And they've been harassed for the last 140 days straight. Every time that they tried to leave or enter that facility, you got protesters blocking and impeding the law enforcement. So for those who think that National Guard is not needed, just watch the videos. All the proof is out there. And listen to the testimonies of the journalists who've been attacked and assaulted. Multiple people, a few situations. There's a person even recently was hit inside of the head with a rock down there, and then ended up getting charged as a victim. It's just crazy. Yeah.
That happens a lot, where the victims are always charged because they may retaliate, or they may look like to a police officer or a dialogue officer, as the case may be, somebody who might be in the wrong. But I mean, they were attacked first. It's just so galling. It is absolutely.
We got Tommy facing assault charges too for that famous fight that went down.
Yeah, Tommy
that
boy.
Antifa member was harassing him for minutes. He was harassing him, and it got to the point where Tommy no longer retreated, where he had to defend himself, and he did so, and now he's facing charges. And it shows the two-tier justice system that you have out of Portland.
Yeah, it's a matter of choice. They choose to prosecute some and not prosecute others. It's the same old. So what did you see at the ICE facility in Portland? What I saw there was what I've seen before. And these are areas, in this case, this area, which is not a free area for free people to walk, drive, or go into, or sleep in their domiciles without being interrupted, harassed, and all the rest of it by Antifa. In other words, real black rebel, it's a no-go zone. I'm sorry. The last time I saw something like that was in The Wire on TV. Okay? I mean, that is just absurd. How is it that you have a no-go zone?
Once again, we have law enforcement not doing their jobs off of the directive from city leadership. The mayor pretty much runs the police bureau there in Portland, and it's a pattern of failed leadership that we are seeing that's been allowing Antifa to work without any type of impunity.
Yeah, well, that's so true. Now, I understand that you are heading to, if you're not already in Seattle now, Why from Portland to Seattle? What's happening in there? And is the ICE facility situation in Portland dead, and you're just going to Seattle to find out what's going on, or what's happening?
There was an event poster set up where it sounded like Antifa was having a direct action tonight. And so what exactly they are doing, we're not sure, but we figured it was interesting enough to come up here and see what we can document. And so even we're not sure what to expect out here today, but I will be back in Portland tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. So tomorrow night, let's see. Oh, that's smart. What's happening in Portland tomorrow night, do you think? So it's Mischief Night in Seattle. And then Halloween, I'm sure all the people who have been donning those ridiculous looking Teletubby outfits will be back and pretending not to be blocking streets, maybe. Think?
We'll see what they do. It's probably just going to be a normal Portland a normal Portland freak show, but it will depend on how many members from the community show up versus how many of the Antifa members that show up. I think that they've pretty much been neutralized with the amount of conservatives that have constantly went down there to support ICE, and Antifa suffering their first defeat here in Portland in a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that encampment's been taken down before, but not in such spectacular fashion, where they had lights, camera, action. They had the Oregon State Patrol and everything. Woo! Everybody came out and it was kind of a big deal. And people, gloried in the fact that Antifa's camp had been taken down. And it was like, oh, that's just been done before, but we know why they're doing it. And they actually said as much to Antifa, and that was to at least try to sell the idea to the Ninth Circuit, U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals that, hey, we're taking care of this. And what's really galling is the fact that there is never a time that they explain that there is a time, place, and manner in which somebody might exercise their First Amendment. And this may not be it, Portland Antifa. This may not be it. They let them do everything with impunity, but I digress. Thank you.
Justice is now coming under Trump's administration, and hopefully we will see a permanent resolution to their problems.
I hope so. It's you've seen it all. I mean, you've gone from Berkeley to New Orleans to Seattle, Portland. You've seen it all. And it's always about stifling someone else's free speech in the name of them standing up for supposed free speech, except they usually do it with violence.
And they work off of the narration of by any means necessary to justify the action, and they consider it fighting fascism, which gives their belief system that they're doing something righteous, and they try to make what they're doing, which is evil, try to make it seem like they're doing something good, and these people are just delusional, and they like to gaslight. And
that's true. It's amazing. That is true. Okay, Real Black Rebel is where you find him on X, and there's Real Black Rebel _ and we'll put that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm not going to say your name again because
You can just call me Drew as well. My real name's Drew.
Okay, Drew. That's it then. That's all I'm going to do. Only because I don't want to make it easy for them to find you again. I know they've doxed you and all that jazz, but whatever.
My name's been out there for a while now. They've pretty much doxed everything that they can. But the greatest thing about that is I no longer have to live in hiding. There's nothing that I'm worried about, and nothing that I feel like I need to hide from them anymore, because they've done it all. And so they really just set me free now because I don't live in fear.
Well, okay. I think that's positive. I mean, you're working too. You have like a day job, and then you do this on, nights, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Man. I'd ask where you work, but I'm not going to. You don't need that kind
I do security for a living. So.
Oh, well, thank God, right? I mean, at least you're strapped. Like most of those guys are strapped too. I mean, it's just kind of crazy. Drew, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I hope
thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Drew. The Real Black Rebel _ is where you find him on X. And so I want you to go check him out, follow him. And he's just one of the good guys, right? He's one of the good people who's gone out there, looked for himself. He's been doing this for years, been stabbed by these people, and they deserve all the infamy that they get in Antifa. And I hope that someday somebody realizes that this is a communist front group, and they will do anything, as Andrew said, by any means necessary to get their way, create chaos, is what we've been showing you as well. A really super interesting interview by a gentleman who did an interview with a guy from Antifa, Portland Antifa, and he's been out for a while. And another one of those tech things where you say, I know I captured that. I know I did. But we're going to see if we can bring it to you. But I wanted to tell you what's coming up. What happened yesterday for the ICE riots. That's how all of this stuff exploded into public consciousness. And that was last June 7th. And in LA, they were setting cars on fire. Remember the Waymo cars that they all called out, and then they lined them up and started burning them in the middle of the road to stop and impede ICE officers from doing an action that they had, an operation for which they had warrants. I don't know what the deal is with these people. They have warrants for this stuff. And then they claim that the people that they are arresting do not get due process. Dude, they had a warrant. That's the beginning of due process. Have they broken into the country and then been on an order to be deported? Yes, in some cases. That's called due process. I may pivot from announcing and telling people over and over that, you know what, free speech isn't as free as you think it is. And you can't riot. In fact, I think the person who's the top law enforcement officer in the Central District of California, Bill Asaley, commented on that yesterday in the announcement that 10 people had been arrested from some of these ICE raid riots.
Charged 97 individuals either with assault or impeding of federal agents engaged in immigration enforcement operations, and we will continue to charge more as we obtain the evidence. Earlier this summer, federal agents engaged in law enforcement operations targeted at removing illegal immigrants who entered the United States unlawfully. In response, large protests began to form throughout the Los Angeles area. I want to be very clear. Every American has a right to peacefully protest. What is not constitutionally protected is a right to engage in violence or to impede federal agents by assaulting, doxing, or obstructing their operations. On July 10th, law enforcement officers were executing a court-ordered search warrant at locations in Ventura County. Protesters, including members of an organization named VC Defensa, came to the site of the search warrants. VC Defensa is an organization that operates and manages what they call a rapid response network designed to impede federal agents and their enforcement operations with assault or impeding of federal agents.
Yeah, anyway, so he's talking about the VC Defensa. We talked about that. I mentioned it in a story yesterday because I was following up on this big bust yesterday. It was like a pre-dawn bust. I thought they only did that with Trump supporters, but apparently they do it now as well. So it was a couple of people, 10 people actually. One of the guys was a real bad actor. He remember the marijuana farm bust? Remember that one? Well, the marijuana farm bust guy threw rocks, and he and another person, a woman who was a fugitive as of that news conference on Wednesday, and there's an update on her, but they threw rocks. They barricaded the road, blocking ICE agents from leaving a place that they operated in and conducted a raid. They found sex slaves. They found underage workers that had been secreted into the country under Joe Biden's Joe's Kids program. And, okay, wait a minute now. Weren't they supposed to be with friends and family? Why, no, they weren't. Because remember now, the Biden administration removed the DNA match that was previously required for children, unaccompanied minors, to come over the border. So there was no way anyone knew who the kids were, nor did they know who the parents or family were. That's what makes some of this stuff so incredibly egregious. And what do? Well, somebody commits with the cartels to bring that kid over the border. And then what happens? Those kids disappeared into the United States. And they ended up in all different places. They've rescued, I think it was, how many? Rescued 13,000, I think it was. And found some people, they were grateful to know that some of these kids were with family. Other kids were found working in sex slavery. They were, no kidding. Some of them had committed suicide because they were so bereft and strung out on drugs. There was a number of things that happened to these unaccompanied minors. Some of them ended up on the streets of LA. In fact, on Highway 101. Remember when they took over the freeway? Here's an excellent recap by a reporter with KCAL. They're in LA. They're the ones that always do all the car chases. And so they were on this stink on poop. And so here they were talking about the arrest of one of these individuals. Remember the people who stood on the bridge and threw paraphernalia, concrete, rocks, flammable materials on California Highway Patrol officers who were trying to block the highway.
On fire, and it looks like he's got like some bush, a brush
kindling,
in his hand,
yeah. There you go. There's the lighter.
And he's trying to light it. So they're going to light the cardboard, and then try to throw it on top of the CHP car to get that set on fire. Look at how many phones are out there too, and if for a second they don't think that CHP is going to be scouring social media to charge these people.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the California Highway Patrol tells me they did. They went through a bunch of different cell phone video. They actually found a lot of tips from residents. And there you see the video that we have from SkyCal of this person looking like he's lighting that kindling, then throwing it onto the CHP cruiser, trying to start it on fire, according to the CHP. They also say he was throwing rocks at them. I want to show you some more pictures here because this is released to us by the California Highway Patrol. This is what he was wearing the day of the protest, according to CHP officers. It was also exactly what he was wearing this morning when he was taken into custody at his home. CHP says that made things a lot easier for them. Same sweatshirt, same jeans, same scarf that he had. There's a damaged patrol car as well. CHP says they're not done looking for people that are accused of starting the fires or throwing rocks on their cars. They are still going through more social media video, but we caught him doing that from SkyCal. CHP says they used a lot of cell phone video from down there in the crowd, and with the help of citizens, they were able to figure out who he is.
Yeah, and imagine that. Well, imagine them being able to find out exactly who he is. And then they announced that they arrested him.
My name's Akil Davis. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles Field Office. As previously stated, multiple individuals were arrested this morning for their role in engaging in targeted violence towards law enforcement and the destruction of government property during June of this year. Last summer, many individuals exercised their peaceful protest and constitutional rights. The FBI is charged with upholding those rights and safeguarding those rights. However, we're not here to discuss peaceful protests. The subjects we're talking about today engaged in violent attacks. The FBI is working very closely with California Highway Patrol, whose officers were trapped under a bridge when violent protesters threw rocks, concrete, electric scooters, and fireworks at officers. And even ignited a patrol vehicle. Additionally, we're working with the ATF to seek individuals responsible for igniting a Waymo taxi during that same time frame.
Remember that?
The FBI will...
Now, remember they called in all the Waymo taxis, and it was a brilliant move, honestly. It was. If you're gonna break the law, have somebody else help you out, like free cars to block the sidewalks and block the roads and block the freeways. And then they had these people who were throwing stuff from the overpass. And they are very lucky that they are not, at this point in time, charged with trying to kill an officer. So we have that. Let's see, what else do I have here? Because I wanted to get to everybody here. Now check this out. Here is a list of how many people have been brought up on charges.
To the suspects, if you are watching, I must remind you that while the arm of the law is long, our memories are longer. So please turn yourselves in immediately to law enforcement because we will be relentless in our pursuit. And to those who are or may be aiding, abetting, concealing, or harboring fugitive Virginia Reyes, who has an active federal criminal arrest warrant issued for her, you can and will be charged with violating Title 18 United States Code Section 1071.
And that woman that he's speaking about, who's, I think her picture was there, Virginia Reyes. Virginia Reyes turned herself in on Thursday morning. Because it's a bad look when you're a wanted felon, and then you bring into under the umbrella of bad stuff happening, your family or whoever is hiding you, which is what she likely did. I mean, she's not at home. They know she's not at home because if she were at home, they would have picked her up yesterday or Wednesday when they were doing the busts. They were looking for her. Now, this Virginia Reyes, it was at the pot farm, and she and her organization, what is it, VC? Yeah, I'll think of it in a second. I only wrote it 5,000 times yesterday. Anyway, so it's a group, and they were organized, and this group was organized by a phone app, and what they did was they came to the area where the ICE was operating with a warrant, by the way. Due process, everybody. Due process. And so they came, and just making sure I got this going here. So she turned herself in. She was throwing rocks, and she was blocking the cars. You can't do that. I mean, and then they spent multiple minutes, many quotes from these law enforcement people say, hey, the FBI, the DOJ, the HSI, the BATF and E, we actually are working on, and we know that they do extra constitutional things sometimes too. Just stay with me on that. But they continued to say, hey, we do stuff that's under the constitutional authority. We know you have a right of free speech and a First Amendment right to protest. You do not have a First Amendment right to riot, throw rocks at cops, hurt other people, block the ingress and egress of law enforcement officers. That is a no-no. You can't do that, dude. You just can't. It's not something for which you are covered under the First Amendment. That's uncivil and riotous behavior. So I told you. I mean, I keep saying that. But they're saying it too. And I think they need to say it all the time because there's so much misinformation out there. There's so much misinformation from the Democrats on Capitol Hill. There's so much disinformation from those in the state capitals, congressional representatives that are back home now because they're not working because they're lazy. The doggone Congress, the House. I mean, I am like beyond. Hey, Mike, whatever, the majority leader, get these people back and start doing all of the 12 bills that you need to pass in order to run the government. You've already passed the simple CR, forgive me. I wish I had a CD. It can't after the Biden administration. Everything's gone. So anyway, yeah. I have somebody who's trolling my comments, Lauren, who's throwing up phony information about the SNAP program and how it's all the Republicans' fault. They already passed, the House Republicans have already passed this bill, and the Senate Republicans have already voted more than 13 times to fund the government. I'm sorry, but your data are incorrect. Now, coming up, speaking of which, we're going to talk, in fact, now, we're going to talk to Linda Payne. Linda Payne is with the Election Integrity Project of California. And the reason I'm talking to her is because on Tuesday, California has a big election in which the Proposition 50 is on the ballot, which would, it's essentially by fiat, it will be codified by voters to change the constitution of the state to allow for redistricting and thereby reducing the number of congressional districts that are currently occupied by Republicans, of which there are precious few. But Gavin Newsom's done this irrespective of what the people of California have done and how they are leaning. And he's done this to propose a vote on this to pretend that it's perfectly okay to throw out everything they've previously done with respect to reapportionment and or the number of congressional districts, redrawing the congressional districts, and just redrawing his own and then going, here, take it or leave it. So I hope this thing goes down to, defeat, but we're going to find out because Linda Payne's with the Election Integrity Project of California. Linda Payne, welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
The lots of things that we could talk about, and I do want to talk about the fact that the DOJ, the federal DOJ, has indicated that it is sending election minders, observers, to California election offices throughout the state, or I guess it's like in four key counties, to find out if they're on the up and up with this vote on Tuesday. Can you talk a little bit about that and what is all that? And I guess Gavin Newsom's sending in observers for the observers. He's such a dweeb. Yeah.
Well, I saw last Saturday on One American News, there was an article that came out indicating that the Department of Justice was sending observers from the Department of Justice, which we haven't seen in the 15 years we've been observing and documenting California's election process and proving that the system is corrupt. We don't look for fraud because fraud, you have to prove intent. We went broader when we started the company. We wanted to see how the system works that we as citizens use to choose our representatives. And so we've trained over 20,000 California citizens to document the election process in 43 out of 58 counties. And we have sent reports to the Department of Justice several times throughout the years, and never did the Department of Justice send anyone to observe the process that, at least that we know of, that they sent. But we're pretty excited that this time they are sending observers to Fresno County, Kern County, LA County, Orange County, and Riverside County. We love for them to send them to Ventura County and San Diego County and Santa Clara County as well. And we're going to see if we can send them a message, but and to stay longer, not just come on election day, because honestly, this is really good news for California, because at least they're taking it seriously that the system in California is corrupt. And in order to take action, they need to see for themselves with their own eyes what the evidence looks like. We're going to try to give them our evidence as well, which is on our website with the proposal we're giving to Congress. But this is really a big deal because there's so much to see. Our teams have been observing already since the ballots were sent out. And there's several areas that are already problematic.
Like what?
The processing of vote by mail ballots has always been problematic. And EIPCA, our Election Integrity Project California, we have always said that voting by mail is the least secure way to cast a ballot. And we're not the only ones, but the commission, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's well known. But the problem is when a person votes by mail.
That was the one with Jimmy Carter on it, right? In the New York Times?
Yeah. Right. Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
But we've documented it. And so it's not just a matter of some commission said it. California citizens, over 20,000 of them, have documented how the processing of ballots can and is being manipulated, beginning with the fact that almost 500,000 vote by mail ballots are sent out to names on the active list that are questionable in terms of eligibility, because they do a very poor job of verifying whether the person's moved. And we've sent many reports to the Department of Justice. In fact, in 2020, we sent 16 reports throughout that year to the Department of Justice, to the California Secretary of State, challenging them to verify first who's going to be getting these ballots, because there were almost 500,000 ineligible ballots. But they ignored us completely. And so we have on our website reports that provide everyone with the actual evidence and findings reports that we have put together. In fact, at the top of our website, Victoria, I'm seeing you there. If you go to the very top on the landing page, there's a box that's titled EIPCA and advocates. Yeah, keep going a little bit more, all the way there. Click on that one. That top box, EIPCA and AFF legal memo.
Do I have the right one? I don't have anything. Hold on. Is this it?
That's it. So the long
Let me
box.
just share this one.
You want to click on that one.
Is this it? Okay. No. Sorry.
That's okay.
I suck. Okay, hold on. Here we go. I can read.
Well, Victoria's looking for it. Everyone needs to know this is critical. This is the work of California citizens, over 20,000 observers, and we have our data analyst team. All of us in the last 15 years have donated our time, 100%, hundreds of thousands of research hours, documenting and proving what the system in California is. And in the middle box, I have put 3 major reports that everyone should see. If you click on the middle one that says 2018, that will give you an idea of what we're seeing right now. In 2018, we put out a massive 22-page findings report about what we saw in 40 out of 58 counties. We matched that to our data research team of what we saw in the voter rolls. And we met with members of my board for about 4 days and read every incident report that came in from our trained observers, which, by the way, our trained observers get about 4 hours of training in California law and federal law and the county policy procedures. So they know what they're looking for. But what we found in 2018 was a massive corruption of the system connected with mismanaged voter rolls so that ineligible ballots were sent out. And we saw in 2018 that there were many congressional seats flipped. So if y'all remember your history in California, that's why this report is so important. That's why we sent this to Congress. And then even if you scroll all the way down, we included at the bottom of the 22 pages testimony from citizens that we trained, or our trained observers, and citizens that went to the polls just as citizens and were told you already voted, and yet they had their ballot in their hand and they were forced to vote with a provisional ballot. So this is what we want Congress to know. This is not made up. This is not flapping and twirling and, we're conspiracy theorists. This is the strongest evidence in the country. EIPCA has been at this now our 15th year. Our tell us we have the best depth and breadth of documented evidence of how a system can be corrupted, so that those in charge of the process can actually predetermine who's going to win and who's not going to win. And that's why we're very concerned about Prop 50. We saw the patterns that we're seeing now in 2025, back in 2021 during the gubernatorial recall election. Those little peak holes were all over multiple counties back in 2021. We were getting reports from our trained observers and from citizens saying, you can see my yes or no on Gavin. Yep. And so they can throw out my ballot if they don't want my no vote. And that's what we were concerned about, is they can do that now. Yeah.
It's happening in Washington too, I think. And I wouldn't doubt if we're happening in Oregon. So you can see, and then in Oregon, there's a video out which we're going to do. We're going to make a show about this. And it's a video in which you find out that you can just easily open a ballot. I mean, if it's already mailed, you open the ballot, change the vote, and then put it back in. I mean, because you can get anybody's ballot. You can pick up anyone's ballot. In California, it's the worst of the worst, in which you can, amass ballots and then take them in. So
Well, in California, the important thing is to understand how it's done. We in 2016, we ran voter roll research on Riverside County, and we noted all of the duplicate ballots. And so back then, as a research organization, we had the ability to ask the registrar for hard copy voter registration affidavits, so we could look at see what's the difference in the duplicates. And that's where we saw the pattern where the duplicated ballot takes the name of the person, Linda Payne, and just adjusts it in the duplicate, Linda S. Payne. And then the birthday, just adjusts it. They keep the place where we live, they keep that address the same, but they have the material sent to a post office box or a house or anywhere, because it's legal to send that anywhere. What we noted in 25 of the 200 sets of duplicates in 2016, we noted 25 of them, the duplicator signed their own name. Normally, they just signed the voter's name, Linda Payne. This time they signed their own name, and on that duplicated ballot, it stamped the company or the organization that hired them. So we met with the Riverside County Registrar's office, the fraud department, 3 investigators from the DA's office. We had everyone there. We had a pro bono attorney and one of my investigators, my researchers. And we laid this out for them and showed them this is how it happens. And we asked, can you open an investigation into the fraudsters? They signed their own name. And to the organizations, there was 4 of them. It's stamped right on there. And the 3 investigators said, we can't do it because if we take them to court, we're going to run into a he said, she said situation in that.
No.
Well, that's what we were all shaking our heads. Like, are you kidding?
That's evidence, man.
But they have a small amount of money to take cases through the courts, and they don't take cases that they know they can't win. So they said this would create. They said it's a perfect crime. So the fraudster would say, I would never do that on purpose. My boss told me to do it. And the company would say, of course we didn't tell him to do that. Look at our policy procedures. There's nothing that tells him to do that. So it's just a word of mouth. And so they didn't investigate them. But that's what we're dealing with in California. That's one picture of many. And that's why we sent a proposal to Congress. This year, it took us 8 months to take 14 years of our evidence and to decide what do we give them. And in that long box that you clicked on, the proposal that we gave, we've already given it to Speaker Johnson and 20 legislators from around the country, showing them that Californians did not vote to destroy themselves. And in this November 4th, they are not voting to get rid of 5 congressional seats. This is a manipulated system. It is a corrupt system. And not only is it corrupt for California, but in one of our links, and it's on our website.
Yeah.
Last year, we researched the certified data from the 2022 election, which again, we saw seats flipped, congressional seats flipped. So in 24, we said, let's take a look at that data from the certified data that the Secretary of State sent to Congress saying, here's who California is seated, and let's run the data and see what it looked like. Well, lo and behold, when we finally got the data, did the research, we found that after certification, Secretary of State, LA County added 43,000 plus additional ballots. Oh. So that's on our website. We sent it to Congress saying the rest of the country now, Congress is being impacted by the corruption of California's selection process because they're flipping seats and determining who sits in Congress, who then determines what happens for the whole country.
Well, it also seems to me that this measure, the Proposition 50, is also it's. I don't know. Let me just make sure. I'm going to get your recommendations to Congress up here in just a second. But it also is. It's not they're coming at it in a way that it's a 14th Amendment issue, I think, and it's this. You've got Gavin Newsom doing this balloting to outweigh what Texas has done by, their new populations fleeing from California. And it's not representative of the voters of California. So they're not being represented. They're being represented in service to the party, the Democrat Party, not the people of California. That's what's just astonishing to me. It's like when I put it in the same vein as when the state of California put forward its advice on, their new carbon tax and all that stuff. And other states, Oregon and Washington and Virginia and other states went along with it. And I was thinking, now hold on a second. This is not representative of your state. Your state people were not asked to implement these changes based on California. And that's what this is. This is in service to someone else, another state. I don't know. It seems to me that's unconstitutional. What do you say?
It's absolutely unconstitutional. In fact, we have on our website a document showing all of the efforts we've taken to file lawsuits. We actually won a lawsuit in 2017 regarding the voter rolls, but in 2021, or after what happened with the 2020 election, we had enough. We knew we had enough evidence to file a constitutional challenge of California's election laws. And so we filed in 2021. And of course, we were challenged with, you don't have standing, just like all the other states were.
Oh, yeah.
The fact is we appealed to the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit ruled that we do have organizational standing. And that's because of all of the years and efforts that we took our evidence to every jurisdictional level, trying to redress this grievance in California. We even had a civil rights hearing in 2015. The report was redacted and buried because it so strongly supported that our evidence showed in 2015 Californians were beginning to lose the ability to choose because the system was able to be manipulated. But our constitutional challenge, we got standing in 2022. It was sent back to the lower courts, and without looking at one piece of evidence, he said, okay, so you have standing, but your lawsuit is nothing but garden variety. You're just not happy. So dismiss. Well, we appealed to the Ninth Circuit again.
What?
Well, we got 3 judges who were corrupt and voted without looking at one piece of evidence. It's just garden variety. No big deal. You're just not happy. So in 2024, we could have appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. But we just felt like we were spending so much money to try to go through the courts, and we decided instead to go to Congress. California's every citizen has the right to redress our government with the issues, and we have so much the documentation, the proof that so much of the rest of the country said doesn't exist. It's in our proposal. Everything in our proposal includes, and we worked with our attorneys. The first 11 pages was written by our attorneys, advocates for faith and freedom, and they put together a document for Congress showing them that Congress has the constitutional authority to pass federal comprehensive law that will protect all the states from the corruption of California's election process. So we filed when the Ninth Circuit said, no, it's nothing but garden variety, we thought we'll take the evidence to Congress. And that's where we are now. We absolutely believe that if Congress doesn't act, we need people across the country to read that proposal. If you go back to that rectangular square, I'll show you what's in that first box if everyone's watching now. Yeah, but this is not a California issue. I think that's my biggest point today.
Yeah.
Victoria.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Not a California issue. This is a national issue. It's a national security issue. We have proven that a state can manipulate the outcome of elections. And the California laws that were used to build this system in 2015 began to spread throughout the country as Mr. Padilla would fly throughout the country and meet with other states, and they would talk about the laws that were being passed in California. We weren't in any of those meetings, but you could see the laws all of a sudden being passed in other states. And on our website are those laws, the Golden State Agenda and the all paths lead to the Golden State Agenda. So what you have up here is called the executive summary. But if you go back and show me the box with all the links, and I'll tell you which link you want to click on.
Okay, here it is.
There, click on the third link down, AFF and the IPCA proposal, right there, that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the 53-page document. And so it has the executive summary right in there so people can quickly see what's in it, what are you proposing. The next set of 10 pages is written by our attorneys, advocates for faith and freedom. And we have a table of contents to help people get through it all. And you'll see they've cited multiple laws to make this easy for Congress to get started on it now, get going and put it together.
Yep.
And then following the 10 pages, if you keep going down till about page 12, page 12 begins EIPCA's proposal. And in the proposal, we have citations of live links of all of the reports that we have provided through the years, proving how the system was created and where the corruption is.
Okay.
So,
nutshell for the viewers, what those things are. Like if you had to say in a nutshell, where is the problem with the way we're voting now, which practically every state has, what would you nutshell it as? Is it the highlights, for example, you've got a whole list of things that you think should be fixed. I mean,
That's why we put it in a summary. It's what's happened is, do you know what a Gordian knot is? If folks don't know what it is, that's what California built. It's all the laws that are wrapped and twisted together that you cannot pull a thread and just all of a sudden fix it. You'd have to take a sword and cut it.
So what you're saying is, in this list, you want to increase the transparency of the entire election process. I mean, don't we all want that? Require proof of citizenship. Require government-issued voter ID. Resolve the inconsistencies regarding voting from overseas. Update the National Voter Registration Act. Update the HAVA Act, which is a hot mess. Create a federally managed voter database, which is supposed to have been done under HAVA. And there are 2 states now fighting that, Maine and Oregon, because they don't want to have transparency in their voter rolls. That should tell you something. Prohibit top 2 primaries. Prohibit ranked choice voting. God bless America. Let's hope. Limit the number of days walk-in early voting before the election day. Election day should just be election day, frankly. And I think we ought to get rid of mail-in ballots at all. Limit mail-in balloting. Prohibit most election technology. Restore in-person precinct level voting. Amen. Same-day registration should be prohibited. Prohibit ballots arriving after Election Day from being accepted. That is just wrong. Absolutely wrong. Remember, Pennsylvania was doing that like 15 days after the election. Prohibit ballot harvesting. Yes. Prohibit pre-registration of minors, which they're doing all over the West Coast, Mest Coast, and other woke cities and et cetera. If you can get rid of those things that are part of your Gordian knot, Linda Payne, then you can fix the voter system. The Democrats are not inclined to do that. They fight you tooth and nail. The California machine, which includes Kamala Harris and Rob Bonta and Alex Padilla and Gavin Newsom and all of their underlings coming up on the bench to screw it up even further, the state up even further, they will fight you. They use the public's money. They're using House money to go after you, and you're a volunteer group.
Well, they have been fighting us for 14 years, and that's why we've taken this 15 years to say we've come to the conclusion that citizens in the state of California cannot solve it. That ability doesn't exist. And what that means is California is no longer functioning as a republic based on citizen self-government, which is dependent upon citizens being able to choose those representatives. California is functioning more like an oligarchical democracy. And a democracy is a very simple form of government where 51% tell the other 49% to shut up and sit down. That's what's happening in California and now in other states. We're now going to the next level, which the Constitution gives us the authority to do, to go to the higher level of government, to Congress, and say, you must act. Citizens in California and other states like California have the right to be representative. And when they can't, Congress must act. And that's our rally cry. Congress must act and restore integrity to the country, or the whole country will look like California as an oligarchical democracy and no longer republic. You have some say the most important Bill of Rights, the most important one is the first, it's our speech. Others say it's the Second Amendment, our right to bear arms. And I say exactly, but above and beyond that is to protect the form of government that our founders gave us. They did not create a democracy. That is a falsifying.
Oh, yeah. Don't you hate that? I mean, oh, yeah, we have a democracy. No, we don't. Stop lying. Keep going, Linda. I'm sorry. I just had to You know.
No, we are a republic, and we must keep the republic, as Benjamin Franklin said to Mrs. Powell when she asked him, "Would you give us a monarchy or a republic?" No, she didn't say, "Did you give us a democracy?" He said, "A republic if you can keep it." What EIPC has been doing for 15 years is working to keep the republic by trying to protect the process Californians use to choose. But that's not possible to do in California or Illinois or Colorado or so many other states. So for the sake of
Oregon,
the republic,
Washington,
Washington,
same thing. Or Washington knows it has thousands upon 25,000 people who have no identification whatsoever voting.
Well, same as California. In fact, in California in 2020, we have on our website at the very bottom, we have our report after 16 letters and reports with the exact data. We only use original source data from the VoteCal, the Department of Justice, the Secretary of State's VoteCal. And we identified in 2020, there were all of these voters who were registers that show place of birth from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2020, suddenly, and I can't remember the exact number, I think it was 78,000 or something like that. All of a sudden, they were changed to showing they were born in California. So
wait, wait, what? Say that again.
Yep. So let me see. You're on that letter?
I'm on that. Yeah.
2020. Okay, scroll down. Keep going down. Keep scrolling. Okay. Now, question number 4. Why did California's online and DMV registration system change 33,000 foreign-born voters' birthplace of record to California? So if you click on that link that's right in there, that one. Yep. There is the shows in 2017 the list of countries that were represented by people in California's voter rolls, and then shows in 2020 all of a sudden they show they were born in California. That's an inside job, and we took that forward. We asked the Secretary of State to address it.
Why they do that?
Because they want to let non-citizens vote and make it look like they were legal.
Holy shinola, man.
So when we filed our constitutional challenge, we cited this report. And so the judge that we had never looked at any of our reports. He didn't look at this. And the 3 judges who ruled that we just garden variety, we're just not happy, they never looked at this report either. We've left it on our website since 2020 because we want people like you. We want the whole country to see this. And this will, hopefully the whole country begin asking their members of Congress to look at our proposal and pass it so that we have a chance at a fair and honest election in 2026.
Well, I'm very happy to see that the Latvians are very well represented on your list, but what the heck are they doing there if they're not citizens?
Pretty shocking.
Now, so this list is of people who are not citizens voting in California.
Well,
correct?
It shows they're on the voter rolls. Some of them could be naturalized citizens. But the thing is, we've asked the Secretary of State to show us, and she says, oh, no, we can't look at that information.
Yeah, that's Washington and Oregon doing the same thing.
So we want the Department of Justice to look at this. That's who can look at it.
Yep.
So that's why we've provided all this to Congress and to the Department of Justice. We are going to send a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and to the FBI. We're going to send it to all of them. This has to be looked at because it's just not a little voter fraud in California. This was an organized attempt to control the elections in California beginning in 2008 is when we first saw it. 2008.
That's what I'm thinking.
Way back then, when we passed Prop 8, back then we didn't even have computers. We organized across the state of California with phone trees to get the signatures on the ballot, to get the Prop 8 on the ballot, and to work together to get it passed. It passed by almost 65%. The judge said, nope, can't do it. There's some problem with it. Prop 8 people rewrote it, and we did it again. We burned the ballots, we got in front, passed it again. This time the same judge said, nope, don't like it. That's when a lot of us woke up and said, what's going on? Well, the next year, 2009, was the Tea Party movement across the country. Yeah. California was so networked already from the 2008 effort that California launched 2,400 Tea Parties in the state of California. And through the Tea Party movement, we began communicating with each other. I'm in the southern part of California. We started SoCal Liberty Coalition with the 9 southern counties. The Bay Area started a coalition, the 9 Bay Area coalition. All throughout the state were coalitions of states that were close by. And we began to communicate with each other about what was going on. And so by 2010, in Southern California, we went to have a look-see. We didn't know how the system worked, but we were asking each other, who knows how the system works? We don't vote. None of us did. So in 2010, we just went to observe. And what we saw was so bizarre that at the end of the 2010 election, 4 of us called the election law attorney and said, this is what we saw. Is this legal? And she said, well, it's not legal. So we said, well, who makes it illegal for people to come across the border in Mexico and vote in California polls? Because that's what we were watching. And she said, well, the politicians can't do it. The candidates can't do it. It'll be made political. So if this is going to be fixed, it has to be done by citizens. It has to be based on integrity because you're going to be challenged. And it has to be nonpartisan because every citizen, regardless of party affiliation, has the right to vote if you're a U.S. citizen. So we hung up with a friend. We said, well, if not us, then who? If not now, then when? And that's how we started. And we started a Facebook page and a Twitter page in January 2011. It was immediately shut down. So we couldn't communicate our stories that we saw across the state. So to start this,
it was shut down, and Facebook shut it down.
Back then, they shut down our ability to talk about what we saw in the 2010 election.
Did Lois Lerner go after you guys too?
Well, we actually couldn't form a nonprofit back then because of Lois Lerner. We had a pro bono.
Oh, so she did.
So he said, start us a C corporation out of Wyoming. He said, first his question is, are you looking to make money? We said, no, we want to figure out what's going on. He said, start a C corporation out of Wyoming and get busy researching. And so the silver lining of being shut down first thing in 2011 is that I had to drive throughout the state and meet with people in person. And because of the Tea Party, I had the phone numbers of the 2,400 Tea Party groups. So I began to call and say, we've got an idea. True the Vote over there in Texas is observing their election process. We think we should see what's going on in California. That's
people.
How it started.
Linda Payne, you're doing God's work. We really appreciate it. I wish somebody would listen to you, but I'll write a story about this again. And, I remember you from a conversation we had, I don't know, I want to say it was like 2014, 2015. And you told me, you were the first person to tell me, it's not voter theft or whatever, it's voter impersonation. And you told me that I think it was 40% of all the voter impersonation cases, such as they are, occur in LA County. And because that's where, when the lists of voters were outside of the places where people voted. They went in person to vote. And then there would be a list out there, and then the list would be sent via cell phone or whatever to LA County, to whoever was whipping up the votes up there. And then all of a sudden they'd sort of wait till, the 59th minute of the 11th hour, and then they'd vote those ballots.
Well, let me just do a clarification because it's even worse than that. That was our 2012 election. This is our first time out, and we had teams in 21 counties from the Bay Area. Or Shasta County was as far north. The counties represented 85% of the California population. So it wasn't just a little smattering, but we wanted to prove, is it just LA County? Because we all thought it was just LA County. But our teams were out across the state. And the first thing in the morning, we started getting calls from our observers saying people were coming into their polls, Kings County, Tulare County, all 21 counties, taking down the street index, which you mentioned is the street index has been with the voter and the voter's address. Well, people were coming down in small groups, taking it down and writing the name and address on a piece of paper or a 3x5 card or something like that. And so then we would ask they would call us, and then we would contact the registrar or the supervisor. You've got to fix this. Bottom line, they didn't fix it. And so people did it all morning, and then it stopped. And then by about, say, 3 o'clock-ish, people started coming to the polls all over the state. big long lines with a piece of paper, 3x5 card with a name and an address on. And so the way it used to vote in 2012, we had in-person voting only, unless you had an absentee ballot. And to protect the voters from being
Good old days.
we used to go to the first clerk and state your name out loud. My name is Linda Payne. And the clerk would have to repeat it back. Your name is Linda Payne. And then she'd check off the list. Then I would step to the next clerk and say my address out loud. That clerk would repeat it out loud and then check it off. And then I'd go to the third clerk where I would sign the book. Well, what happened in 2012 is they did not implement that law that would have protected in-person voters. I think that's when they were testing the system. They were looking for weaknesses for how they could manipulate voters in a mass number, not a little bit here and there. So by 3 o'clock, between 3 and 6, long lines of people came with a piece of paper and handed it to the first clerk. The first clerk didn't ask their name. They didn't speak out loud. They didn't say one word. But the clerk just took the paper, the 3x5 card, looked for the name, checked it off, handed it to the next clerk who looked for the address, checked it off. And that person went to the third clerk and signed the book for the voter. Well, the biggest shocker was in the evening.
Clerk did?
Clerk, because nobody checked anything. They just let the person who had they had a voter's name and address, go through the process and sign the book and then go vote. Well, at 6 o'clock-ish, the evening voters started coming in, and our phones were off the hook on our statewide hotline as our observers were telling us people were coming in and being told they'd already voted. And and see, there was no vote by mail then. They hadn't even been to the polls yet, but there it was. And they'd say, well, what's my signature? I didn't do it. Well, that was what the 40% is. Pew Research Center said that in 2012, California, the whole state, cast 40% of all provisional ballots nationwide. Now, what everyone needs to know is if your vote provisionally, it is not counted if it shows that you voted. Well, these people didn't vote, but their name voted.
Oh.
So they did not vote. So whoever these people, and that's why we've stayed with this. We've never taken a penny in payment because we thought we were going to fix it in one election and get back to normal. But what we saw in 2012, we knew there was an organized effort to defraud the state of California because it was in 21 counties.
Shocking. That's shocking. I mean, everybody sees what the NGOs are doing, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
That's why Congress, we need to, the whole country needs to unite around this call of Congress to take action and pass a federal comprehensive election integrity legislation that protects all the citizens of the country. They must act, and they must act now. We've already given it to Speaker Johnson. We've given the proposal to 20 legislators from across the state. We'll continue to give it to and meet with them. We put it on our website. We're going to send it far and wide. We hope journalists will send it far and wide because citizens in every state need to read it and see what's in it, and then reach out to their legislators in their state and join us in our call for for Congress to take action and pass comprehensive federal election integrity legislation and protect the whole country from this.
Yeah, it is and then they'll say, oh, it's a funny election where something happened, blah, blah, blah. And, I should ask you, did you see anything funny and weird in 2020 as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen it every year since 2012. And that's why by 2012 and 2013 and 2014, we had so much evidence. We gave it to the California Committee, to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. Yeah, we said there's a serious problem here. And we think our evidence and our analysis of the evidence shows Californians are losing the ability to choose. The committee had a Democrat and Republican committee members. They took 9 months and looked at the evidence from the 2012 election, the 2013 Central Valley special election, and the 2014 election. Yeah. And after 9 months, they said, we agree with you. We think there's a problem. Sure. And they called for a civil rights hearing with the Civil Rights Division from D.C.
Right. They came to California, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that. And then nothing happened, right?
Well, they redacted and buried that report.
Got it. 10-4 on that. That wasn't, J. Christian Adams wasn't on that panel at the time. Was he? Or because he's one of the good guys on that whole thing.
He trained us way back then. He trained us how to do this work and how to understand state and federal law. Yeah. But he gave us the foundation that we have to keep doing what we've done now in our 15th year.
I mean, this is the most important thing. I mean, the Antifa stuff is really interesting, but this is the most important thing we're talking about on this edition of the Adult in the Room podcast. This is the franchise, folks. This is what they say, denied and or given the franchise. This is what it means to be able to exercise your vote and to be able to have a system in which your vote is honored and not diluted by fraudsters, people who are illegally here and unable to vote, the motor voter. I don't know. I didn't see on the, oh, yeah, that's right. Did you have get rid of motor voter on your list? I don't think I saw that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And as you read as people open up, and I really encourage people to take the time to read it.
Yeah.
We put it electronically, so you can see the whole section on motor voter.
Unbelievable.
It's extensive.
I know I started looking at it, and I got to go back. I just have to go back and educate myself. And I owe it to not just the viewers of the Adult in the Room podcast, but I owe it to my readers over at PJ Media, where I've done a lot of writing over the years. And I really appreciate you coming on. And I hope that you'll come back again and we can go over some of this stuff and go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. Not much good, but a lot of ugly. And Linda Payne, thank you so much for coming on the program today. Your work is fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate you. And so we've got lots of comments from a person named Lauren on the chat today. And I can see why she would do those, because she's trying to put a variety of messages that are just utter nonsense on our chat today. Just like, hey, Trump's a bad dude, whatever. I mean, polling of Americans show that the SNAP thing, blah, 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 that's not the Schumer shutdown, etc. That's bunk, by the way, just utter nonsense. Look, okay, so let's see. Coming up on Tuesday, we'll be going over the people who have given recent interviews who are former Antifa members. And I'm going to go over those, and I will make sure I have the cuts that you can see. It's a good thing I didn't play them today because they're longer. It would have been even a longer show, Alex, so I apologize for that. Anyway, good to talk to you, and have a great weekend. Take heart. Remember, what we say, look up, heart out, and strive to be the adult in the room. That's our motto, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter, when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and the Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.